Alright, hi everyone. Welcome back to the weekly update. So for this week, things to share. Like I said, always look at what is coming up on the economic calendar for next week and what is the earnings report for next week. Things to share for this video will be on the next week. There will be big earning report from the tech side, especially from those Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla. So if let's say you are holding any Nasdaq related company or counter, or you are longing or shorting any uh, Nasdaq index, right? You might want to be cautious about it. So we will look at what is the upcoming earnings report, and then we will look and review back what happened last week, especially on the bank earning. So as you can see, last week there's a lot of earnings reported from the bank side, and then we will look at one chart. I would take JP Morgan as one of example. Then you can actually go in and see yourself for other bank related stuff. Then we will see some of the Nasdaq counter, like there's going to upcoming earnings report like Microsoft, and how we're going to link off a couple of the shares as well. So there will be some recommendation at the end of the video. So things like I like to continue to recommend will be Cisco, especially and Dropbox, which I mentioned. Lastly, things like we'll look into one of the commodities and one of the indices. And lastly is one of the dangerous counter. If you're holding on it, please take note and be aware of that. So let's start with the economic calendar. So for economic calendar for upcoming week, usually the last week of the month will be quite thin. So we will be concentrating on the crude oil inventory. If you're holding any oil counter, please take note. Lastly is the initial jobless claim. This will actually see what will happen in the US market. So that is on the economic calendar. Next thing to watch out for. Why I say initial jobs claim, jobless claim is so important is because I'm not sure, are you guys aware that um, this is what, is there any similars on bill? So because you guys must understand that during these COVID sessions, right, actually US have this $600 financial help, but is that $600 is going to expire with, I think if I'm not wrong, it's 31st July. So what will happen next after this 600 stimulus is no longer provided weekly to those unemployment person? How does it going to impact the economy? This is the things to watch out for the upcoming news. All right. So next for earning calendar, we can see that last week there's a lot of good earnings report from JP Morgan, Citigroup, all the bank, especially just on for Wells Fargo is not doing very well. All right. So the rate, here the right side is actually the forecast, and then the left side green is actually what is the actual on the earnings report. Everything seems very good, all right, because it's green, green, green. More green is even way better for the bank side. But does it really reflect what is really on the economy? In the economy itself. So one thing and one trick to take note. First of all, let's take a look. This is JP Morgan chart. As you can see, we look into the weekly chart. If let's say the earnings is good, if let's say the earnings is way better, earning per share is good, revenue is good, everything is good, then the chart doesn't seem so, right? Last week it doesn't seem so. It's formed like a doji with a high volume. So you look at the daily chart itself, can you see? And calf. So right now, even though we stay above 100 moving average, this line is above 100 moving average, but then it doesn't show any sign of strength after all. If let's say with a good earning report, things should go up. But if it doesn't, then what should be the next reason for it to go up? All right, why? What causes this thing? What causes this thing that why bank uh cannot go up? Because there's the news, trying to say that all the bank is actually they pause those kind of lender from repaying their loans first due to COVID. COVID, a lot of people take loans, but they might not able to pay back the loans they take up. So that is the biggest, the debt default, the risk the bank is holding right now. There's uncertainty over there. Whether once they resume, whether those creditors able to pay back the debt or not. So one thing to take notes. All right. So you can see this is how you read on the earnings reports. You can see the forecast. They released this earning for JP Morgan's. I can see. All right, for JP Morgan's. So each time when the forecast is above 2. So this is like I mentioned on my last video, how analysts or credit rating company they play the tricks over here, because it's the headline that move the market. right? So you see, they forecast lower because they know COVID is going to impact no matter what. So they forecast lower. Then by then, when the EPS come out, it's way better than the forecast, right? Market tend to go higher. But eventually, if after people digest the news, right, it's eventually this impact is there. The COVID impact is there. So is it a positive at this side? To me, I don't think so. Based on the chart, based on what the forecast here is, just try to play trick on the numbers itself. All right. So take note of those big counter of bank that announced last week. I know there are coming few banks that's going to announce this week as well. Let's take a look. So what is coming up this week? Let's take a look. So for this week, all right, so this week there's a lot of big tech like Microsoft, Tesla, everything, but there's also a couple of banks will be going to announce their earnings report as well. I think I just browsed through a couple of them. So take note, if let's say you're holding bank shares, it might not be what it is of what you see from the figure itself. All right, so this is how you read on the earnings report. Let me close this too. Okay, so things to watch out, like I mentioned. Next, we will move on to coming week. So coming week, let's first of all review Nasdaq first. So as you can see, Nasdaq, I say since 2 weeks ago, my video, I don't want to bring back again. Nasdaq has been trending higher and higher. I understand there are a couple of noises, especially for last week. All right, there'll be a big drop. All right, big, bouncing here and there. But after all, you must understand Nasdaq is still on the uptrend. It's still on the uptrend. So when it actually deep, is actually for you to accumulate. Of course, tech bubble is around the corner. No one know because it's all-time high. Right now, what will trigger it is if let's say this coming week, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, this kind of big news, Intel is going to miss all the earnings report. Yeah, there will be a big crash in Nasdaq soon. All right, but do you think the earnings report will be very bad for them? I doubt so. All right, especially during COVID, we need them. After COVID, we even need to change to the technology sector. So, like I say, with or without COVID, with or without the vaccine, technology tend to bounce up. But of course, correction will be there. But if you say it's going to be, is there a correction? I don't think so. But if let's say if you think that is a pullback, yes, it might happen. All right. So Nasdaq, my view is still intact, but where too long is still another skill set, right? All right, let's move on. So things to watch out for, earnings report. I just want to focus on something which called Intel. All right, so there will be an Intel earning on the Thursday, 23rd, as you can see here, Intel earning. Why I mentioned Intel, let's take a look. If you remember my video, last week I recommend two shares. One is actually AMD as well. So Intel, AMD, Nvidia is something that related to the chips to the computer itself. So we shall see how's the earning report for Intel. Then we can see what's the earning for Nvidia and AMD, because it's just like a guide reference from there. So for Intel wise, I can see there's a 23rd earnings report. So if let's say you are keen for AMD, you can actually monitor. It's still the uptrend after all. All right, but is it a good position to long? That is another skill set. So I'm monitoring Intel closely as well. Next thing, good earning report. Everyone is using, even I'm using while working from home. This is called Citrix. All right, Citrix is like, I'm not sure you can read up what is this company doing if you are not very sure. So from daily chart itself, you can see, all right, break all-time high. Cool, good, break, and stay above the all-time high. Close above the all-time high. Can you see here? So Intel wise, I think the earning report is going to be very positive. It's going to push one more leg up. But what is the risk reward over here if you're going to chase the market? Is it good for you? So that is things that you should consider. I mean, you should consider whether the risk is worth of entering right now or not. Not asking you to chase. All right, it's always good to buy the dip back, but if let's say the dip doesn't happen, then pass and look for something that actually dip. So what actually dip down? Things I've been saying and saying again and again will be Costco. All right, I'm so sorry. It's Cisco, not Costco. It's Cisco. All right, as I mentioned last week, you can see. All right, I mentioned last week will be on the 13th. I say that there's two doji. All right, I say you can enter where the market, then the market crash. Oh my God, it crashed. But I did mention you can actually wait for the pullback to cover the gap to enter. All right, but I did because this is a education purpose video, right? So I need to pick up from the opening price. So the opening price didn't come here, so end up the opening price go even higher. But if let's say you able to withstand the noises, you just ignore the noises or you wait for the pullback to cover the gap to enter, right now you are in the profit. Am I right to say? So Nasdaq, there's a lot of noise bumping up and down, but Cisco is trending up. Look at the weekly chart. All right, this candle is very nice. So what is the hindering part right now is what will happen for this coming week. Technology sector earnings report, whether Nasdaq will continue to inch higher. If yes, if Cisco able to break the 100 MA moving average, we will go to the target that we are looking for, $50 to $51 in between. All right, so Cisco, I will still recommend a buy right now. If you haven't entered after the pullback, you never get to the dip. Right now, it's still a fair value for you. That I feel. All right, so entry price. Oops. I don't know. But if let's say I'm going to enter right now. All right, so stop loss over here. What's the price here? 43.79. Entry 46.74, and then we just target 50, 51. All right, let's put here. Risk reward, one is 0.44. Why not? All right, to me, I think this is a good catch. So this is one thing to recommend. Next thing I want to look into will be, okay, so even there's the news saying that Cisco system look attractive on every dip. Go read up more if you're really keen on Cisco. All right, so things to watch out. Let's see what's next. Next thing, we are keen on Tesla. Oh no, I will go into Microsoft first. All right, so Microsoft is also is a cloud data services. There's a lot of they got a lot of, I mean, they got a lot of exposure, not just Microsoft, not just cloud data. But why I'm looking at Microsoft earnings, because I'm looking at how does it actually, you know, when we come to earnings report, you don't just see what is the figure there. All right, they will give you their 2021 guidance as well, their earnings guidance. Where are they heading to? What is their directions? So what is the crowd user database, everything like that. So this will give you a gauge that what is coming up on the following earnings report instead just for this term. Correct or not? So watch out what is the view for Microsoft. Then you can actually project on related company. So which I mentioned, I have been touching on is Dropbox, right? So yes, Dropbox. I got, if let's say after I mentioned that day, I've mentioned, I said this is a investment counter, not a trading counter, right? So when it actually deep down is for you to accumulate. But if let's say FOMO, fear of missing out, you have entered. But if let's say your holding power is there, if you manage your position well, you should have cut by then. So why I say Dropbox is something to monitor, because first we look at Microsoft. Second, there will be earning report on the 3rd of August. All right. So Dropbox deep down to close to 100 moving day average. This is where you should accumulate. All right, I did some, I mean, it's up to individual. If you think $20 whole figure is good, you can actually accumulate at $20. All right, if you have accumulate, you have to hold on. Okay, even though this down candle is very strong and the pullback volume is very high, so some people said that there might be some up and down depending on this coming week technology sector. If let's say you are really worried about Dropbox, then do not enter it. All right, wait for a clearer picture. Is always okay to wait after the earnings report. Okay, because this is not a very strong counter yet, like I mentioned. Why? Because there is no clear trend of uptrend yet. All right, you are catching the dip. That is the biggest fish right now. But biggest fish always come with lower probability, higher risk. I mean lower risk, right? Because your stop loss is always tend to be nearer to your entry price. Correct or not? So Dropbox is something I'm also monitoring closely. If for accumulations right now. Next thing I will be looking at. So I'm done with this. I'm done with this. All right. So yes, earning report. A lot of people are very concerned on this thing called Tesla. Right, Tesla. When we're talking about Tesla, this is something that is very important. I came across this video. EV competitor. Yes, everyone know EV, electrical vehicle, is the future out there. As you know, Tesla have been increased over how many 100% since the start of the year. But is it overpriced? Is the value really true? All right, a lot of people comparing Tesla to Nikola, comparing to NIO. So things to watch out. NIO is a good, I mean, China. I mean, you can Google more about NIO if you are really keen. All right, I didn't touch on these shares because this is really a multi-bagger. But at the point of time when I started the video, right, it actually shoot up. So I don't think it's a appropriate time, but it's still in my watch list spot. It's not appropriate time to share right now. But Nikola is something that you need to watch out if you are holding on to the shares. All right, I will point at the chart itself. Why I will explain a little bit more as well. But Tesla, some people wrote Tesla stock price does not reflect. All right, so they reduce the rating to sell. But of course, you must understand, a credit rating company always tend to benefit themselves. They might they might purposely rate it lower so people will panic, sell the shares cheaper to them for them to accumulate. All right, but Tesla has been going very, very high. So this coming earnings report does really tell whether Tesla is true or not. All right, so if you're holding Tesla, I have no any idea, or even the chart itself, I can't see anything from Tesla. It's just a risk over there. But for Nikola, all right, so what is Nikola? Let's take a look. Nikola is actually something EV as well, but that is on truck. All right, it's on truck. However, the thing for Nikola, if let's say we look at the chart first, all right. If you're holding Nikola or you want to enter, let's take a look. This is the daily chart. Tesla is showing, NIO is showing this kind of red line as well. But I think, personal opinion, I think if let's say things not doing well for the tech side, especially for earnings report for Tesla, Nikola will be the one that drop even more. All right. Google more about this company if you want. Nikola is selling EV truck, but thing is that what they have been doing is all just wording promises. That means they just talk. Nikola have not delivered any truck yet or produced any truck, if I'm not wrong today. All right, so they just speculate, wow, EV truck is the next in the future, the next upcoming in thing, but no solid figure yet. So this is a big, big red flag to me. All right, if you want, chances is short is higher than long. All right, so Nikola, if you are holding, beware of the counter. Otherwise, if you are looking to short, the volume pick up for you too. You know what to do, right? When the volume pick up, especially for short. But a lot of people say there's it's like a pullback. But if you are risk averse, just keep this counter. If you want the thrill, you can enter and put a tight stop loss. All right, Nikola, things to watch out for. All right, let's move on to next. Like I mentioned, one of the commods. I'm a stock guy. I hardly monitor commods, but this catch my attention as well for this thing called Palladium. All right. So for Palladium wise, what is Palladium? Palladium is actually using it to create car. Car need this material. All right, you can see what a nice cup. Can you see that? What a nice cup. Correct? What a nice cup. So we are waiting for the cup to reach, come with the handle, and that is where you should. I don't want to say too much, all right? Cup and handle. What does it mean? Go Google more about it. So for Palladium, as you can see, is still one trend upward intact right now. Is between above 40 and 20-day moving average, really chart close above. So I think Palladium, all right. So if let's say I'm going to long right now, let's take a look. I'm going to long. Let me see, where should I put? Let's do some forecast. If I'm going to long during the open day, all right, I'm not sure. Let's see. I like a whole figure. Let's put 2000, and I just put my stop loss somewhere here. All right, see how it goes. All right, let's see. All right, 1.58. Why not? I think it's quite reasonable. So this is something I'm looking for. All right, if you don't want, you want a whole figure, you can go to 2002, but then the risk reward will be close to 0.96. Is it good? It's up to you. All right, this is just what I'm looking at right now for Palladium if you are in commods. All right, so take note. Lastly, okay, next thing, I have no fundamental. I never read up more on that, but I'm going to say is Nikkei. Nikkei, let's take a look. index Nikkei. Why I point out Nikkei is because of the TA lah, purely on TA. Alright, but take note lah, if you are going to short this counter, uptrend intact. But the thing is that, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Okay, you can see, let's draw. Let's do some drawing here. So I put here as resistance. Fair enough. I put here as a support. All right. So if I say here is the band, resistance, support, pullback, V recovery, hit one time, come down, hit second time, count down. Even though it closed with this icon, not icon, this candle, but it should show strength whether it should go up or down. So this depends because there's no big news, big economy news. So this is going to depend the earnings report from the US side. All right. Remember, bank is doing good last week earnings report, but the candle doesn't say so. All right. If let's say the whole market is going to drop, as you know, the spike of COVID is still there. Vaccine, although is good news, but the death is still higher, right? So, will there be a good profit here? Risk reward, you measure yourself. So, Nikkei is something I'm watching closely. Can you see a lot of resistance here? A lot of resistance here. So, 23,000 is something whereby you can monitor to short. Stop loss. Take note, if you go even higher, break this is tight stop loss. If you want, you can wait until you go even higher, but the risk reward is not very nice. All right. So Nikkei is something I'm looking as well, monitoring. All right. My Fonte is stocks, but doesn't mean I do watch other products. So, all right. Last thing, Nicola. I mentioned Nicola already. So yeah, so that's all for me for this week. I have nothing much to share. So be cautious. Earning report for Nasdaq if you're holding. Otherwise, let's see what will happen on the couple shares that I recommend for this week and what is going to be result next week, and we'll review again. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.